Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassan Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only. We're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, your existence. My friend John Haller does the best job of giving you the information. I try to do more of a magazine show where we're talking about what part of Revelation is this and how does it relate to you and what's the thought behind the story that you're reading. So we solve a little bit of Revelation, and today it's solving why is Satan still fighting? Why he has lost this battle. He knows he's lost the battle. He knows his time is getting close to the end. Why is he fighting? And I'm going to be arguing something called projection in this, and it's based on narcissism and things like that. So we'll see if you agree with me. Maybe you're going to disagree and say, no, 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 he's fighting for another reason. And I'll try to list some of those other reasons. But the main thing is, I think it's narcissism, people. So I'll try to prove it to you. Hey, I am officially a member of the Prophecy Roundtable now with Scott and Doug. It's a great show. We're actually having a really fun time. Join us Thursday nights, 7 o'clock Central. It's just a blast, and we're having great guests, and it's a wonderful discussion. And if you have questions, submit them, please, to the show. Thank you. So, you're in an end times apocalyptic war. You know that the Satan is going to be kicked out at some point in time. He's going to be incredibly angry, but he keeps on fighting. And that doesn't make any sense because you and I would just give up. I mean, you can't defeat God. And that's part of one of the scenarios that I'm going to point out. So one of my life verse is 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. It's KJV. I love it. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. That's 1 Peter 5:7 and 8. 8, I memorized them in the KJV years ago. It's hard to break those habits. But he is walking about as a roaring lion, and he's going to be even more hungry and desperate as times move forward. So why? What possible benefit could he get out of all of this? Or what rational reason would Satan, who is a brilliant creature, why would he continue to fight in this end times war? So I'm arguing narcissism. Yeah. And sometimes it seems like Satan is using narcissism or narcissistic people to attack you. I think that's part of the game here with what's going on in the world and what's going on with him as his time decreases. So are they actually the devil incarnate? Yeah, some narcissists are really bad. There are possessed people, there are oppressed people, there are also people that are just evil for the sake of being evil. I've met them all. So just get ready for it. Let's do the philosophy of eschatology. Let's look at the Bible. We'll see if you like my verses. I didn't choose all the verses, I chose my favorite verses. And prophecy. And then fake news. We try to give you the real news. And there is some news in this one, too. We do the philosophy of the end of days. So join us. So, the points that I'm going to make today are based off Genesis 3:1, which is the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which God had made. And he said to the woman, indeed, has God said, you shall not eat from any tree of the garden? Well, he's twisting. And that's a sign of projection, believe it or not. So let's look at the 3 points that have generally been considered over the years for why Satan fights. One, the Satan is crafty, and I always say the Satan if I can, because he is. It is a title. He is the adversary, so it's Ha Satan, Ha the adversary, Ha meaning the specific article too. So to fight against God, he realizes he can't strike God personally. He can't defeat God in a frontal attack, but he can decrease God's joy by attacking his people. So he can cause their people to sin, and that decreases God's joy. It is a valid point. It is part of the kitchen sink answer for what we're looking at today, but it's not specifically the answer that I want, and that I'm going to give you the Bible verses that match my answer. And there aren't that many verses about Satan anyway. Then point number 2 is the Satan's craving for a larger collection of souls for burning in hell. He knows he's going to be cast into hell, so why not drag a few more people with him? Yeah, but I'm not so sure. That's where I've generally been all these years. That it seems like he just wants to drag more people just because he's bitter. Well, what about this? Point number 3. He's a narcissist. If he obfuscates via projection, and I'll explain that in the next slide, and gaslighting to prevent shame. Shame is the big word with Satan. When you see the verses about him, you should see that he kind of thinks he's superior to all of us, and that this is going to be bothersome to him to be cast to the earth and be, basically branded, we'll call it, in front of humanity and become a lesser creature in everyone's eyes. We'll see him in his nakedness, so to speak. Okay, so let's talk about narcissistic projection. They want to confuse and manipulate you. So narcissists use projection to confuse and manipulate you. Narcissists can't accept responsibility for anything that goes wrong. So if something isn't working and they want control over the situation, they literally put their feelings on you. So it doesn't matter what you really think or what you've done. Narcissists will turn whatever you say or think or do against you. With narcissists, they project any blame you may place on them back on you. If they're in a bad mood, they'll deflect the accusation and blame you for their mood. Perhaps they'll say something along the lines of, I'm in a bad mood. You're the one in the bad mood. You just can't see past their own bad attitude. So this is from Reach Out Recovery. Thank you very much for a quick description of it. So I want to point out how the narcissist Satan tempted Yeshua in Matthew 4 at his weakest point, okay? And by twisting the scripture, then we'll get into some more specific verses. But this is a good test of narcissism. So when the Spirit led Yeshua up into the wilderness to be tempted by the adversary, after Yeshua had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and he was hungry, the tempter came to him and said to him, if you are the Son of God, order these stones to become bread. But he answered, the Tanakh says, and the Tanakh is an amalgamation of the Torah, the Navaim, and the Ketuvim, so it's all of the Old Testament, says, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of Adonai. That's Deuteronomy 8:3. Then the adversary took him to the holy city, Jerusalem, and set him on the highest point of the temple, and said, if you are the Son of God, he said, jump. For the Tanakh says, he will order his angels to be responsible for you. They will support you with their hands so that you will not hurt your feet on the stones. That's Psalm 91 that he's quoting, but really then it's Matthew 4, 1 through 6 that I just read. So he's quoting Psalm 91 very well. And that's what Satan does. Yeshua replied to him, but it also says, do not put Adonai your God to the test. He's quoting Deuteronomy again in return. Deuteronomy 6:16. Once more, the adversary took him to the summit of a very high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory, and said to him, all this I will give to you if you will bow down and worship me. Away with you, Satan, Yeshua told him, for the Tanakh says, worship Adonai your God and serve him only. And he's quoting Deuteronomy 6:13 through 14. Then the adversary let him alone, and the angels came and took care of him. So he had been defeated. This was a narcissistic injury for Satan, and he left him alone, okay? But the demons still came out after this point in time and did their what machinations, we'll call it, okay? So this is Matthew again. I should have quoted Luke for this, but Matthew's pretty good. So I'm saying that this is the age of narcissistic projection. It is beginning right now, okay? And they manipulate, and these tactics are satanic, but he's using his peoples to do this to us. And so why malignant narcissists are evil. Yes, thank you, Jack, for that book. So no justice, no peace. There's going to be more rioting. As we get into this projection phase, you'll see the rioters, you'll see, for whatever purpose, and none of it is constructive. They're all going to be fighting all the time. So you'll see more rioting, more riots. It's just the way things are going to be. So let's list off some people that are doing horrific gaslighting, and they're narcissists, and what's happening to our world right now. So according to the Burning Platform, and really it's Paul Craig Roberts, who I read frequently and just love his work. This is from January 25th, from the Burning Platform again, Satan's Agent, the World Economic Forum. So this is Klaus Schwab and his henchmen. And so on the right-hand side, have they no shame? And shame is the most important thing that I want you to correlate with narcissism. That is what drives this. They have no shame. They can't even consider that they would have any shame. Is it that their need to belong to the cool people of the planet is so powerful? Is it that the cool and sophisticated is now inevitably ridiculous and shameful? The WEA, really the WEF, is an anti-human cult devoted to the destruction of freedom and human life. In my opinion, it would be wondrous if the next time the collection of stupid and evil beings assemble, Russia, China, Iran would launch a missile attack that would completely destroy the World Economic Forum. They won't, because Russia, China, and Iran view the WEF as an ally in the destruction of the West. That's what they want to do. So why would they stop the WEF from completely destroying the West? This is a mistake because Russia, China, and Iran populations also are fated to be culled. So everyone is being culled right now by the WEF. They want us to eat bugs instead of food. They want us to not have farmers anymore. They really want to cull people. And so they've also, I won't read down below because, I will get a strike against me. But basically, they're trying to come up with another culling device to get rid of people. So this is gaslighting coming from the World Economic Forum, and we just saw them meet last week. So it'll get much worse. Okay, continuing forward here. This is Amazon. So this is our media. This is our Hollywood. And they just introduced Has-Been Hotel, which is telling the Lucifer story differently. So Lucifer means Hillel in the Hebrew text, and Lightbringer, things like that. And so they're trying to recast the Satan as the good guy. So it suggests the angel of God are heartless, while sympathetically portraying demons, Lucifer, and his mythological lover Lilith. And Lilith is technically in the text, but it's Adam and Eve. It's not Adam and Lilith or anything like that. So heaven and hell, like you've never seen them before. Here's the opening scene. If you watch this video, you'll vomit. It's that bad. But this is what they're projecting onto us right now. This is satanic projection where they try to twist Genesis, especially the first scenes in Genesis 3. Genesis 2, too. So here's another projection. According to Hamas, the red cows, the Parah Adamah, were the reason to justify the October 7th massacres of Israelis. So they believe that that if the cows are slaughtered, or one is slaughtered, that would kick off the sacrificial system, and so they need to stop that, so they need to go kill 1,200 Israelis. Well, that wasn't a very good reason. And who knows if these are the correct red heifers and if they will be sacrificed at some point in time. But this aggression is their path. It is. They really believe that something would change. The dynamic would change by the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the red cows, the red heifers, would do that. Well, we'll see what happens. But the main thing is it's projection. It's another instance of projection. This war is a projection based on either the cows or hatred and things like that. And so they act out. Another example. Okay. Defend death interrupted by Genocide Joe. So Joe Biden just went to Virginia on January 23rd, and he wanted to talk about death, death, death. And the crowd wanted more death than that. They wanted a ceasefire in Gaza, which would produce more Jewish deaths. Because if you give Hamas what they want right now, they will want more. They don't stop. They mean from the river to the sea. That means there's no Israel. Okay? So it's once again projection and gaslighting. And it's done by, in this case, Joe Biden and his friends. Because he knows that it's killing babies. He knows that it's killing babies when it's abortion. And he also knows that he's supporting Israel. And I'm not sure why exactly he's doing that. Maybe because he believes that the donors are strong on the Jewish side. I don't know. But it is projection. It is gaslighting. And there's a lot of lies coming from all the politicians. Okay, here's another one, peddling death. This is where Canada contemplates offering euthanasia to 12-year-old children. They've already offered it to adults. So if you're having a bad day at work and you come home and you really just aren't happy at all, here's a suicide package for you. This assisted death is all about death. And many of these people are just simply, they're somewhat suicidal, but if you act on it, I don't know. This is peddling narcissism, where the leaders don't feel like taking care of you anymore if you have mental health issues, and they want you to die instead. Okay, here's another one. The BRICS people are competing with the United States with their SWIFT system. And so you've got narcissists fighting narcissists. Everybody loves their money. And so it's more cases of narcissism and it's projection, and we're in the middle of it, and they do want to destroy the middle class and the lower classes. They don't really, they view us as useless eaters. So it's projection again. Okay, this is another case. This is Hamas again, and I want you to hear it in the literal text. And thank you, John Haller, for this quote today. So avoiding harm to civilians, especially children, women, and elderly people, is a religious and moral commitment by all the Al-Qassam Brigade's fighters. We reiterate that the Palestinian resistance was fully disciplined and committed to the Islamic values during the operation of October 7th, and that the Palestinian fighters only targeted the occupation soldiers and those who carried weapons against our people. In the meantime, the Palestinian fighters were keen to avoid harming civilians, despite the fact that the resistance does not possess precise weapons. In addition, if there was any case of targeting civilians, it happened accidentally and in the course of the confrontation with the occupation forces. That's a bunch of lies. They killed babies, they targeted babies, they purposely took women and children back to be hostages. This is the worst projection I've ever seen in my life. But there's a standard from those types of people. And this is projection on the right-hand side when you see that they told us what was going to happen from 2012, and then it finally occurred in 2023. So we know this is the case. That Satan's involved in it, and it's projection as always. Okay, this is projection. You're not going to like to hear this, but we have the right, people like me that are not pre-trib rapture people, to have our own opinion. But as a result of not saying, oh, you're the greatest people in the history of the world because you believe in the pre-trib rapture, like Metaxas said the other day here, they think we're attacking them. They call us post-hosties already, okay? So we are treated very poorly. Like if there's a special event with speakers, no one other than a pre-trib rapture person is generally invited. It's very rare that others are invited, and they're not treated very well. So basically, I'm telling you as an eschatologist that I know many eschatologists, and every single eschatologist will be wrong at some point in time. Just get used to it and stop having the thin skin and stop projecting, okay? And you know why there must be a pre-tribulation rapture of the church by Pastor Jack Hibbs. That is projection, okay? And I'm willing to admit that I'm going to be wrong at times. I've been wrong so much already. You know, we're all learning Revelation and how it relates to us. Continuing on, narcissists, shame to protect their fragile ego. Okay, so narcissists avoid shame at all costs. And this is an article from, oh no, I didn't clip where I came. Oh, it's Dr. Nicholas Jenner. I'm sorry. Okay, so this man is saying narcissists avoid shame at all costs. It also is their nemesis or kryptonite. It's a satanic kryptonite. If you want to see it that way, codependents fix others to control, narcissists use and discard, by Dr. Nicholas Jenner, and continuing on. However, instead of confronting and processing their shame, they tend to project it on others by belittling or shaming them in an attempt to protect their fragile ego. And I'm arguing that Satan has a fragile ego. Paradoxically, this avoidance of shame can further isolate narcissists like Satan and perpetuate the cycle of unhealthy behaviors and relationships, which is satanic, which is, you know, all the demons and all the other activities done by these narcissists on our planet today. Okay, let's look at the verses now, and let's see if my argument of shame is the issue in narcissism and things like that works for Satan. So there aren't that many verses, but let's go through them and see what you think. How did you come to fall from the heavens, morning star, son of the dawn? How did you come to be cut to the ground, conqueror of nations? You thought to yourself, I will scale the heavens. I will raise my throne above God's stars. I will sit on the mount of assembly far away in the north. Instead, you are brought down to Sheol, to the uttermost depths of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you, reflecting on what has become of you. Is this the man who shook the earth, who made the kingdoms tremble? This is Isaiah 14, 12 through 13, and 15 through 16. And that is describing the fall of Satan and how he was the Kerev. He was the closest Kerev, and then he was stripped of everything. So now we're going to move over to New Testament for a little bit. Colossians 2:15, stripping the rulers and authorities of their power, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by means of the cross, the stake. Okay, and so the piece of wood that Yeshua was hung on. So what I'm arguing is that this is the first witness that Satan was triumphed over, and there will be a second witness. It will be us, the bride. Okay, and you have to have two witnesses. So in the first case, Yeshua stripped these rulers and authorities of their power. If you want to see more to do with rulers and authorities, go to Ephesians 6 and look for those terms. I think it's 6:13, and then also Isaiah 24:21. You'll see them listed out. Okay, then Romans 16:20. And God, the source of shalom, will soon crush the adversary under your feet. Now look at that very carefully. It's not under his feet, it's under your feet. Us, okay? So we're the bride. We're the second witness. So I want you to be able to see that there has to be this crushing of Satan at some point in time, and we have to be the witness of it. That's why I am a post-tribber, because we should enjoy seeing this. And I'll give you a case in point in the next slide or so here. Okay, moving on from Romans, we move on to Revelation 20:2-3. He sees the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, the adversary, and chained him up for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss, locked it, and sealed it over him so that he could not deceive the nations anymore until the 1,000 years were over. That's an embarrassment for Satan. He will be humiliated. He will have shame placed on him. He doesn't like that. Narcissists do not like that. And here's Ezekiel 28 talking about Satan again. I have destroyed you. He was the protecting Kerev. So he was one of the top angels, probably above Michael. So, therefore I have thrown you out, defiled, from the mountain of God. I have destroyed you, protecting Kerev. From among the stones of fire, your heart grew proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. But I have thrown you on the ground. Before kings, I have made you a spectacle. By your many crimes and dishonest trading, you have profaned your sanctuaries. Therefore I have brought forth fire from within you. Now look at that carefully. So within Satan there seems to be a fire, and it's brought forth from within you, and it has devoured you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who can see you, all who know. And I'm saying that's the bride, the second witness, that all that know you, Satan, among the peoples will be aghast at you. You are an object of terror, and you will cease to exist. Ezekiel 28:16-19. So this is a pictorial scene of the Exodus, even though it's set in the 1500s. It's kind of cool looking. I love the old artwork. And so that's Moses on the right-hand side, and that's Pharaoh and his men on the left-hand side. Pharaoh was a god, and Moses was a god. It says Elohim in the text, in the Hebrew. So the main thing is Pharaoh had to be humiliated. Satan had to be humiliated. And God could have done the humiliation of Pharaoh privately, but he did it publicly in front of the Hebrews. Okay, so this will occur. Whatever happened to Pharaoh the first time will happen to the Satan the second time, and we will be the witnesses of that, just like the Hebrews were in the first case with Pharaoh. So let's read it again on the right-hand side. This is from Exodus 15. Yah is my strength, and my song has become my salvation. This is my God. I will glorify him, my father's God. I will exalt him. Adonai is a warrior. Adonai is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he hurled into the sea. His elite commanders were drowned in the sea of Suf, Yam Suf. The deep waters covered him. They sank to the depths like a stone. And so Satan and Pharaoh must be humiliated in similar ways. Okay, we'll finish it out with Revelation 12, a little bit from Matthew 8:29 first. So Satan can't endure this shame of being hurled out. This is going to be problematic for him. What do you want with us, Son of God? Have you come to torture us before the appointed time? So these are the demons. This is the Gadarene. So this is Yeshua talking to him, and the demons are speaking back saying, torture us before the appointed time. That's the first witness again of Yeshua. Then there will be the second witness, which is us, which is the bride. And we'll see that in chapter 12 here, the time. Next, there was a battle in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back, but it was not strong enough to win, so that there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The great dragon was thrown out. The ancient serpent, also known as the devil, and Satan, the adversary, the deceiver of the whole world, he was hurled down to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him. So that's Revelation 12. That means we will witness that, and he will be embarrassed. The shame of it, being hurled out of heaven and no longer having a place there for him. He's no longer important. He will be the dregs of humanity at that point in time, even though he's an angel. Okay, so he's lost. So what keeps the Satan fighting? Again, could it be that he just has this opportunity to decrease God's joy by attacking his people? Yeah, there is some of that. Satan's craving for a larger collection of souls. Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah. Narcissism. He has to prevent his shame. So he's going to use projection and gaslighting and other things like that because he can't handle this kind of shame. He was created perfectly. He was so important when he was created, and now he's going to be full of shame and cast out. So where are we right now? We're in the birth pangs. We're probably in the fourth seal. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation. Why would Satan fight? Because he knows at the midpoint he's going to be cast out, and that would go into the great tribulation after that. He doesn't want that to occur. He has to project. He has to gaslight. He has to prevent that shame. He doesn't want shame. You need to work on your garments. You can't be naked. You have to wear clean garments. You need to get into this wedding. You need to get your loved ones into the wedding. That means you need to repent. You need to have faith. You need to read your Bibles, and you need to be prepared for some bad times coming up. It's a wedding after that. So be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. God bless. We'll see you in a week.